There is a sorrow so heavy, so sharp, that even time dares not dull its edges too quickly. The sorrow of betrayal, the sting of a heart that was mishandled by the very hands you trusted. It is a peculiar cruelty, isn't it, when the ones you welcome into your heart turn the warmth of your love into a game? They take your sincerity, your compassion, your pure intentions, and toss them about as if they were nothing more than trinkets for their amusement. But here's the truth, hidden quietly beneath the noise of this world. The heart is not a toy, and love is not a game. The Creator himself formed the human heart as a sacred vessel, capable of great endurance, deep affection, and unspeakable beauty. Yet, when it is bruised by deception, when it is pierced by cruelty disguised as affection, the ache echoes far beyond flesh and bone. It stirs the heavens. Have you ever wondered why such pain often arrives wrapped in the familiar? Why those we shielded with our trust are so often the ones who play recklessly with our emotions? It is because the greatest pain is born from misplaced belief. You believed they valued you. You believed your kindness mattered. You believed your loyalty was seen. And when they reduced your heart to a game, it wasn't only your love they disrespected. It was the sacredness of what God himself placed within you. But here is the beauty hidden behind the curtains of suffering. God watches, even when the world pretends he is silent. God observes the careless games they play. And where human justice stumbles, divine justice prepares its steps. They played with your heart, they toyed with your emotions, but they have unknowingly signed their fate into the hands of karma, a force that does not forget, a justice that is not swayed by human deception. You see, there is a divine balance woven into the very fabric of existence. What they throw into the universe, mockery, betrayal, deceit, it does not vanish. It circles back, often quietly, often unexpectedly, but always faithfully. The one who plays with hearts soon finds life playing with theirs. Fate has a strange humor when it comes to restoring balance. What they gave returns, often multiplied, often disguised, but always tailored to reveal the depth of their wrongdoing. And perhaps you wonder, will they ever understand the depth of what they've done? Will they ever taste the sharpness of their own actions? The answer rests in the hands of the one who sees all things. God has patience that we often lack, and his justice may seem delayed, but it is never absent. When karma comes knocking on their door, it comes not as revenge, but as a mirror, a reflection of every lie they whispered, every tear they caused, every moment they treated your love as nothing but a playground for their ego. Let them laugh now, let them dance in the illusion of victory, because the threads of fate, though unseen, are being woven. Their fate is not in your hands, it is not even in theirs. It rests with the one who balances every scale. For you, the heartbroken, the one who feels discarded after their games, know this: God does not leave wounds unattended. He will heal your heart, he will restore your peace, and he will allow life to teach them a lesson their arrogance never prepared them for. They played with your heart and hurt you, but the game ends when God steps in. And when he does, even fate itself becomes the stage upon which karma performs its quiet, undeniable justice. God sees every hidden intention, even when they pretend it was just a game. There's a peculiar thing about human hearts. We often believe what people show us, rather than what lies beneath their surface. They smile, they speak sweetly, they act as though their care is genuine, and for a while, we believe them. We believe because we see through the lens of our own sincerity. But behind their charming words and empty gestures, many carry intentions far more sinister than they will ever admit. Some people approach relationships not to honor love, but to manipulate it. They come not to build, but to conquer, to control, to satisfy some hidden hunger for attention, validation, or power. And when they play with your heart, they cloak their actions in false innocence. They say, "It wasn't that serious. You're overreacting. It was just fun. I didn't mean to hurt you," as though your pain is some exaggeration of the truth. But God does not see through their words. He sees through their souls. Where we are fooled by their smiles, He is not. Where we are deceived by their excuses, He remains unmoved. The Creator, who designed the complexity of human intention, cannot be manipulated by those who mishandle others. Every whispered lie, every pretense, every calculated moment where they toyed with your heart and dismissed your emotions, it was all seen. It was all recorded in the quiet justice of heaven. Have you ever felt the ache of realizing you were merely an option, an amusement, while your heart was fully invested? That ache is not just emotional, it's spiritual. Because the heart is a sacred space, and when someone plays with it, they're not merely toying with feelings. They are offending the very blueprint of trust and love God placed within us. And though they parade around with arrogance, pretending they meant no harm, pretending your pain is exaggerated, deep down they know the games they played. But even if they manage to silence their conscience, they cannot silence the divine eyes upon them. God observes what the world overlooks. He knows the difference between a genuine mistake and a calculated act of emotional manipulation. And while they dance in their delusion, convincing themselves they've gotten away with it, God is patient. His justice may not be immediate, but it is inevitable. There is no such thing as a hidden intention in the eyes of the Almighty. You may have been fooled, but God never was. You may have been hurt, but God never misses a moment of it. And for every game they played with your heart, a lesson is being written into their fate. A lesson they cannot escape, no matter how skillfully they pretended. The heart is sacred, and playing with it invites consequences they cannot escape. The heart is not a trivial thing. It is not a toy to be tossed between careless hands or an object to be reshaped by selfish intentions. The heart is sacred. It holds the capacity to love, to forgive, to trust, and to heal. And that sacredness comes from its Creator, not from the approval of others. When they played with your heart, they didn't just bruise your feelings, they desecrated something holy. It is an offense many never take seriously because society often minimizes emotional wounds, but heaven does not. In the eyes of God, to mishandle a heart is to mishandle His craftsmanship. To toy with someone's love is to insult the divine design He placed within human connection. Think of it this way: when someone offers you their heart, they are offering their vulnerability, their trust, their deepest desire to be valued and seen. It is a gesture rooted in purity. And when that gift is abused, when it's mocked, exploited, or discarded, there is an unseen cost that follows. Some call it fate, some call it karma, but whatever name you give it, consequences cannot be outrun. They may walk away smiling, satisfied with the chaos they left behind, but they forget. The heart they mishandled was not theirs to exploit. It belonged to you, yes, but beyond that, it belonged to the divine narrative of your life, a narrative God Himself authored. And He does not take lightly the destruction of what He created to be beautiful. For those who played with your heart, life is already preparing its lessons. They believe they control the board, that they can toy with emotions without ever being caught in the web of their own actions. But the web is spinning, quietly, invisibly, and soon they will find themselves entangled in the same confusion, pain, and uncertainty they inflicted. The heart they treated like a game will become their greatest regret. And the worst part? They may never even see the connection between their downfall and their cruelty until it's too late. Because when life returns what they sowed, it often does so in unfamiliar shapes. Lost peace, failed relationships, broken trust from others, yet at the core of it, it all stems from the moment they mishandled love, the moment they forgot that the heart is sacred, and playing with it invites consequences they cannot escape. Karma doesn't ask for permission, it moves when God allows. There is a dangerous illusion in this world, the illusion that people can do as they please, hurt who they want, play their games, and walk away untouched. It's an illusion fed by pride, by arrogance, by the belief that consequences can be outrun. But what they forget, what they so conveniently ignore, is that life operates by laws far greater than their deception. And karma doesn't knock politely, it doesn't seek permission, it moves when God decides the time has come. You see, there is a rhythm to justice that flows beyond human comprehension. While they were busy playing with your heart, laughing at your pain, brushing off your worth as though it was disposable, the hands of divine justice were already weaving their fate. You may not have seen it. They may not have felt it. But timing, especially God's timing, is never rushed and never delayed. They thought they had mastered control. They thought your emotions were nothing but strings to pull, buttons to push, all for their amusement. But what they didn't realize is that life records everything. The disrespect, the manipulation, the careless disregard for your feelings, it does not vanish into thin air. It settles, quietly, into the soil of their destiny, waiting for the moment to rise. Karma is not a weapon of revenge. It is the inevitable return of energy, a divine balance set in motion by the Creator himself. And when people play with hearts, when they misuse trust, when they belittle the sacredness of love, they set their own fate in motion. They may think they control the timing, but that's the arrogance of the human spirit, the belief that we can outrun accountability. But karma doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't seek your approval or theirs. It doesn't care if they've convinced the world they are innocent. It doesn't wait for them to be ready. It arrives at the perfect moment, the moment when their pride is at its peak, their confidence unshaken, their belief in their invincibility fully formed. And that is when the unraveling begins. What they played with in you will play with them in life. The same games they thought they mastered will turn against them. And the most humbling part, it will all feel familiar, the confusion, the heartache, the loss, because it will be a reflection of the very pain they caused. Except this time, no amount of charm, manipulation, or lies will protect them. When karma moves, it moves with the authority of heaven. Their games will turn into their lessons. People believe they are clever when they manipulate hearts, when they deceive, when they pretend to care, only to exploit your kindness for their own entertainment. They see it as a victory, a moment of power, where your emotions were merely pieces on the board of their ego. But every game has its ending, and every manipulator eventually meets the lesson their arrogance created. Life is constructed with mirrors hidden within its design. The actions we take, the energy we pour into others, the love we honor or destroy, all of it is reflected back to us. When they played with your heart, they thought they were immune to that reflection. But no one escapes the lessons life prepares. The same games they use to confuse you, belittle you, or make you question your worth will become the very traps they fall into. And here's the painful beauty of it. They often don't recognize the lesson until it's too late. They will walk confidently into relationships believing they are still in control, still untouchable, still capable of manipulating others as they did you. But life doesn't forget. God doesn't forget. The same strings they pulled on your heart will wrap around their own. The same uncertainty they created in you will chase them in ways they cannot understand. Their peace will fracture, their confidence will fade. The same confusion they cast over you will descend upon their lives like a fog they cannot clear. Every choice has a consequence, and their games, those small, cruel amusements they thought had no weight, will become lessons they cannot escape. And the most haunting part? Those lessons often arrive disguised as their own doing. They will chase the same empty victories. They will pursue relationships with selfish motives, and in doing so, they will create the very downfall they tried to avoid. Because when you play with hearts, when you mock sincerity, when you dismantle someone's trust, you're not winning. You're building a cage around your own future. Their games will not end the way they imagined. They may have hurt you for sport, but life is preparing to teach them through the only language they understand, consequence. And that lesson will echo through every corner of their existence, long after they've forgotten the games they played with you. God heals the broken-hearted, but He humiliates the proud. There's something sacred about heartbreak that only those who've been through it can understand. When your heart is shattered, when the person you trusted turns your love into a weapon, when your tears become the echo of your nights, it feels as though the world itself has conspired against you. But what often goes unnoticed in those dark moments is that God does His most beautiful work in the broken. The scriptures remind us that God is close to the broken-hearted, not the arrogant. He does not turn His face away from those who weep silently, carrying pain in their chest, trying to hold together the fragments of their soul. No, He draws near to them like a loving father bending down to pick up a child who's been tossed aside. But to the proud, to those who hurt others for amusement, to those who strut through life believing they can toy with people and escape consequences, He humbles them, often in ways they never see coming. The person who played with your heart, the one who mistook your love for weakness, who turned your vulnerability into a game, they believe they have won. But what they do not realize is that God sees the full picture. They see temporary satisfaction. God sees the storm brewing quietly behind them. They see your pain as a trophy. God sees their pride as the root of their downfall. And isn't it always the same? Those who hurt others walk with an air of invincibility. Their words are sharp, their ego inflated, their confidence blinding them from the reality that God is not mocked. But time has a way of unraveling pride. Life has a way of stripping away false strength. And God has a way of exposing arrogance at its most fragile point. While He heals you, strengthening the parts of your soul you thought would never feel whole again, He is orchestrating a humbling for the proud. A humbling that cannot be stopped, delayed, or escaped. It comes in whispers at first. A failed plan, a closed door, a relationship falling apart. But as their pride persists, so does God's pursuit, until finally the very person who mocked your tears becomes the example of how God humbles those who exalt themselves by harming the innocent. It's not revenge, it's divine order. You, the broken-hearted, become restored. They, the arrogant, face the humiliation of their actions catching up with them. For God, who cradles the wounded, also confronts the wicked, and no amount of false confidence can shield them when divine justice moves. Life is designed to return what you sow. They cannot outrun it. There is an ancient law written into the fabric of this universe, a law so simple yet so unavoidable. You reap what you sow. It doesn't matter how powerful someone feels, how clever their schemes appear, or how hidden their motives seem. Life keeps the score, and no seed planted ever fails to bear fruit. When they played with your heart, when they treated your love as a disposable thing, they were sowing seeds into the soil of their future. Seeds of deceit, manipulation, and arrogance. In their minds, those seeds would vanish. They would walk away unbothered, their reputation intact, their next game already planned. But life doesn't work that way. It's not a matter of if those seeds grow, it's a matter of when. The pain they sowed into your heart does not dissolve. It plants itself quietly in the soil of time, nurtured by the energy of their choices. And when the season arrives, those seeds bloom, not into joy, but into consequences. They cannot outrun this process, though many try. They bury themselves in distractions, chase after new relationships, fill their lives with noise, all to escape the echo of what they've done. But life follows them like a shadow. The energy they poured into hurting you trails them wherever they go, patiently waiting for the moment to unfold. And when it does, it often comes disguised. It may arrive as heartbreak they never expected, as betrayal they never saw coming, as peace dissolving from their life like sand through their fingers. They'll search for answers, wonder why everything is falling apart. But deep down, their soul knows. Because the heart remembers what the mind tries to forget. You don't need to chase revenge. You don't need to wish for their downfall. Life handles that with quiet precision. They sowed hurt, and now life prepares to return it. They may believe they've moved on, but what follows them cannot be shaken off. This is not cruelty. It's divine justice. It's the built-in consequence of mistreating what God made sacred. And for every game they played with your heart, for every moment they thought they were untouchable, life has been preparing a reflection, one they cannot outrun. Your pain was temporary, but their karma will reshape their future. Pain has a strange way of convincing us that it is eternal. When your heart is broken, when betrayal grips your chest so tightly you can barely breathe, when the person you trusted plays with your emotions as if they were meaningless, you begin to believe the suffering will never end. The sleepless nights, the racing thoughts, the tears that fall in silence, it feels like the pain has settled into your bones, like a permanent part of you. The pain remains the same. You are the same. But here is what you must never forget. Your pain was never meant to stay. It was never designed to define you. It was designed to refine you. And though you carried your suffering like a shadow, though you walked through days where your chest felt hollow and your spirit bruised, it was all temporary. The one who created your heart did not abandon you in your weakness. He allowed the pain to stretch you, to grow you, but not to break you beyond repair. The one who hurt you, the one who toyed with your heart for their amusement, their fate is a different story. They believed they could inflict damage without consequence. They believed your heart was a toy and your pain was invisible. But pain, when given to God, transforms. It becomes the soil for your healing. It becomes the beginning of your restoration. For them, however, the pain they created circles back, not to teach, but to dismantle. Their karma doesn't visit as a whisper. It arrives as a storm. It doesn't gently knock. It breaks down doors. The fate they reshaped through arrogance, the future they corrupted through manipulation, it all returns to them, magnified, reshaped into a lesson they cannot escape. They may walk in confidence now. They may pretend your suffering was meaningless, your love disposable. But life keeps records far better than people do. Their actions have already shaped their future. A future where the pain they caused you becomes the foundation of their own trials. And here is the most humbling truth. They won't always connect the dots. They will stand in the wreckage of their relationships, the collapse of their peace, the crumbling of their confidence, and wonder why everything falls apart. But heaven knows. You know. The seeds they planted in your heart have bloomed in their fate. Your pain was temporary. Their karma will be permanent, not because you wished them harm, but because divine justice never leaves the scales unbalanced. You heal, they face themselves. And in that exchange, you rise while they unravel. So now, let them laugh, let them play, let them pretend their games with your heart were harmless entertainment. But you, my friend, you carry the quiet knowledge of heaven's justice. You understand the laws of life run deeper than deception. You know that love, when mishandled, leaves an echo that trails behind the arrogant, like a shadow they cannot outrun. They played with your heart and hurt you, but they did not win. They signed their own fate the moment they disrespected the sacredness within you. You may have wept, but God collected every tear. You may have bled emotionally, but heaven saw every drop. And while you stumbled beneath the weight of their cruelty, life began writing their consequence. Karma is not a myth. It is the language through which God restores balance. The ones who thought your pain was weakness will soon discover their own strength crumbling. The games they played will become their chains. The love they abused will become the lesson life refuses to let them escape. And you will heal. You will rise. You will outgrow the ashes of their games. And when you look back, you will not see defeat. You will see proof that the heart is never a playground, and that God, in His timing, always lets karma play with the fate of those who dared play with you.